Hi there. We've got a Feelfree tandem kayak. We've had it for quite a number of years now, and it's one of those that's got a wheel on the stern. And I thought it was a bit of a gimmick when I bought it, but actually it's tremendously useful. It means that one person can move the kayak around, especially when you're portaging. You don't need a second person to carry it. You can just roll it. And by the way, top tip here is it's easier to push than it is to pull. I know that's counterintuitive, but they do wear out. So if we look at the one I've got here, we can see that it's got lots of play in it, and it seems to be leaking as well. It always fills up with water and you can hear it sloshing around, but also because it's got lots of play in it, it's lost ground clearance, which means the hull is scraping along the ground when you portage it more than it should. So I've just gone and bought a replacement wheel that's come from Feelfree themselves. I think it was about £25 plus £5 delivery, so it's not ultimately cheap, but you know, we've done I think we've done 80 kayak journeys in this over the years, and that's, you know, each one of those is about 2 to 3 hours, so it's kind of had a fair bit of use out of that wheel, and it's been scraped along, you know, tarmac and gravel and concrete, and rock and sand, which is what's probably killed it. So we'll have a go and see if we can fit a replacement one and see how easy that is. Now, one thing to note is there are something like 3 different models of wheel available, so if you go to the website for Feelfree, do check which of the wheels is for your kayak, because the different models have different wheels. So hopefully this is the right one they've sent us. So I've laid the parts out in the order they slot together. So a couple of things to notice. See, on one side these components are grey, on the other side they're black. So we can see here this is black, and on this side it's grey. You wouldn't necessarily notice that normally. Obviously we've got the wheel, we've got a new axle to go through, and then we've got sort of a rubber seal here which goes against this face and that face. We've got these sort of nuts that screw in here and here, and then we have got these bolts, if you could call them bolts, which go there and which the nuts screw into. So effectively that goes like that, that then goes through here, and then this screws in from the outside. Little thing to notice here, you see these little sort of castellations. They're actually sort of like little ramps, so when you screw them up in, that's going to click in place and make it difficult to unscrew. So obviously prevents it coming unscrewed. Now the reason why these are colour coded is that one pair is a right hand thread, one pair is a left hand thread. So one pair you actually would turn in the opposite direction to do it up from what you would normally expect. So worth checking out which one's which beforehand. So having talked about right hand and left hand threads, so this grey one is a normal right handed thread. The black one is left handed, so it does up in the opposite direction. Now here we can see you've got these little ramps. Now if I screw this too far, it's going to click over here and be difficult to undo. So we don't want to screw that on until we are properly ready to install this. Also means that it's likely to be more difficult when we come to get this off than it was doing it back up. So we're probably going to have to use a bit of force to go crack and get it past that when we come to undo the old ones. I also notice this has got R for right on it, so you can see which side is which. So the next obvious question is what do you need to undo this? That's hex, so you're going to need an Allen key or similar, and quite a big one. So this is 10 mil. There we go. Now before I try to do that up or undo it, I want to find which direction the black one goes in. Is it clockwise or counterclockwise? So actually this is counterclockwise. So let's just check again. So it tightens in the opposite direction, which means that normally I would think to undo it I'll be doing this, but it's actually the other direction. Now we see why there is a little notch here and here. It's so we can get a screwdriver or something in there, because it's just turning. Now one of the problems is because you've got these barbs on here that are trying to prevent this undoing, and this plastic's not very strong. If you just try and lever it down while rotating this, you're just going to damage the plastic here and round it off, and you'll struggle to get it off. But if we look on the back of this one as an example, it's got this sort of barb just on one place, so it's next to one of these slots. So one of these slots, if we can pull it away slightly, we can ease it off so that this barb no longer connects with this, and it should undo. And to insert the screwdriver down here and just lever it away a bit, and then try rotating. There, that is now coming off. There we go. You can see that's fairly worn, but that's not the part that really is going to wear. So once we do the other side, we should be able to get the wheel out and look at the wheel and axle. Now this side we'll undo in the conventional direction. So this one's not wanting to come off, so we'll have to resort to the other tactic that you might use if you were stuck without the right tool on a Land Rover wheel bearing. So we're just going to use this like a chisel and hit it. Shouldn't hopefully need so much. There we go. That's sort of ruined it, but that's now undoing. So just as well they give you a replacement set of all these things, because you're going to ruin them taking them off. Now I was trying desperately not to resort to getting the saws all out or something like that, because I don't want to really start sawing around here and end up cutting into the hull by accident. There's the other side out. So notice the grey is on this side and the black's on this side, so I'm going to put these down either side to remind myself. It should just lift up. Oh no, it won't lift up because we need to get the axle out. There we go. Wow, that's why there's a lot of play. That's what it should look like. And this should lift out. Actually the wheel is not too bad, but it is full of water, so it's clearly worn through so that it's leaking. So now we can, it's just the reverse to install these. So this is going to have to go in first with this rubber piece and I'm guessing the little gap here is for that tooth there. So it goes on, so there's no leaks around there, that's good. It's not worn through. I'll just make sure there's no grit in here before I put it back together. So we should be able to put the new wheel in. Oh, slightly awkward. Right, and then the axle slots in all the way through. There. You can manipulate the wheel a bit until it's central and can go through. It's not particularly central there. Let me just try this one first. That's going in, I think. I'm not going to do it all the way, because I don't want it latching on that little barb. Ah, there we go. Right. So, yep, there's no play on that. That's brilliant. A bit more ground clearance. And so now I'll tighten this up. I need to put a screwdriver in here just to resist this a bit. I'm not going to go too tight. You could question whether it's worth putting some sort of lubricant on here. The reason I haven't is that sand's going to get down here, and any lubricant will just cause the sand to stick, and it's going to wear through the plastic a lot quicker. So now as I do it up, the wheel becomes freer. Right, that'll probably do. There we go. Okay, so it took a few minutes, but it was worth doing, and say 25 to 30 pounds. It's probably better off doing this than just waiting till you end up scraping the hull over the rough surfaces too much and ending up with a hole, which means unless you can get someone to repair it, you might have written off your hull. So anyway, that's ready to go out kayaking again. Okay, hopefully that was useful. Cheers everyone.